startups by category and names of the startups with name of shares, share prices, and total investment made by you. On the top left corner, you have your profile. While on the right, we have a side panel for other details, like a leaderboard, which helps you to check your points and rank. We have a feedback section, which helps you give feedback to us. We have Contact Us, by which you could reach out to us. We also have a section for all the frequently asked questions. Looking forward to you utilizing and enjoying the IPV app. Do share feedback. Happy investing.
At IPV, we want to change this entire paradigm, and we want to therefore improve the success rates of our startups in the country by at least 10x.
IPV has been built on the core values of inclusivity, integrity, and innovation.
To me, success lies in following 3 M's, which is money, mentoring, and market access.
Seen a lot of their companies get follow-on rounds from top-tier VCs, top-tier PEs, and some really large strategics as well, which gives you a lot of comfort.
So overall, my experience with IPV has been great. They're very proactive, very helpful, very understanding.
Entire product forward helped us run campaigns in the communities and networks that are associated with them.
On the other hand, they also were very kind to do a lot of PR around our funding, and that actually has helped us get a lot more traction on potential partnerships.
I didn't imagine that so fast and so smoothly they will bring about these multiple exits, and where all these exits have given me a good return.
Interestingly, I am sort of, having 100% success rate, which means I have exited all 3 now.
I have made multiple investments with IPV, and I've been fortunate to be part of 3 exits too, which have been very financially rewarding.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Sandhya, can you hear me? Just wanted to check.
Yes, you're audible.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It gives us immense pleasure to host today's Fireside Chat alongside with IIT Madras Alumni Association. Thanks to Latha ma'am, and a very special thanks to Krishnan sir for giving us this opportunity. Along with IIT Madras, today we have the panelists Ankur Mittal, who's the co-founder of IPV, Dhinesh, Kanagaraj, who's the founder of Fabheads, and Manu, Iyer, the CEO and the Bluehill Capital, also an IPV investor. Let's move forward. IPV has different communities with premier institutions across the country. We have 24 communities, as can be seen on the screen. You can see that we have over 2,800 alumni who are with us in various communities. We have 46 funded startups, and that's where we see a very vibrant ecosystem being created with the premier educated institutions. Right. As a part of our offerings to IIT Madras, we are giving free complimentary membership for 6 months to our Founders Genie, which is a community in itself, which provides exclusive by invitation only for founders. This aims to provide any given solution to any given problem within 15 minutes. It's highly cost effective, it's highest quality solutions, and it is at the tip of my finger. We have an app for the same. You can explore synergies, you can ensure you want to hire in 15 minutes, and of course, networking opportunities. Next slide, please. We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our co-founder, Ankur Mittal, who he himself is an investor and invested in more than 60 plus startups. He has the experience of over 20 years in expanding Training the Street, which is the leading financial learning services across different regions. He has experience in advisory for mergers and acquisitions, not only in different sectors, but also in regions of North America, Asia Pacific, etc. He has led multidisciplinary team of 30 professionals in GE. We welcome Ankur Mittal as one of our panelists today.
Thanks, Sumati.
Thanks, Ankur. Next is Dhinesh Kanagaraj, who is, we can proudly say, is one of our portfolio companies. He has come with the work experience in ISRO, where one of his projects was taken as the best project of the year. His Fabheads startup was incubated in IIT Madras cell itself.
And I think he wanted to have a...
Sorry, can you hear me?
Sumati, continue. It was, I think, somebody else.
All right, sorry. Fabheads can proudly say it is the first in-house developed fiber 3D printing capabilities in Asia, and specializes in carbon fiber part manufacturing sector. So welcome, Dhinesh. Look forward to having you in today's session.
Thank you, Sumati. Pleasure to be here.
It gives us pleasure in introducing you to Manu Iyer. He's an independent investor himself and a CEO and MD of Bluehill Capital. He is an MBA from Duke University and, of course, is an alumni of IIT Madras. Used to work in US and then shifted based India. He is on a board of multiple startups as an individual investor, the names of which are on the screen itself. And he has invested in more than 30 odd startups focusing around deep tech, clean tech, and IoT based startups. Welcome, Manu. Look forward for your session today. And of course, Latha, it's been absolutely a pleasure working with you. Needs no introduction with the IIT Madras Association. Interestingly, she's also a theatre artist and has worked in Tamil movies, web series, and models for advertisements. She's also been the CEO, an absolute inspiration for all of us as well. Thank you, Latha. It's been great. I think IIT Madras Alumni Association, there's no doubt about it being, the kind of engagement and the kind of vibrant association that has been created. You have been instrumental in that. Thank you so much. And Latha will be the moderator for today's session. Welcome, Latha, to the panel discussion.
Thank you, Smriti, for all those kind words.
Thank you. We have a short welcome note by the president of IIT Madras Association, Mr. Krishnan Narayanan. Sandhya, I would request you to play that before we start the fireside session.
Good afternoon, friends. My name is Krishnan Narayanan. I'm the president of the IIT Madras Alumni Association. Formed in 1964, we represent over 50,000 alumni worldwide. Especially in the last 5 years, we have become so active. We 10x to 20x growth in terms of alumni engaging on our platforms. I jokingly say that if we were a startup, we'd be aiming for unicorn status. Now we've formed a new strategic plan for IITMA, and we have 2 new missions. The first mission is Mission 5,000 Ignited Minds, essentially to get 10% of our alumni as committed volunteers on IITMA initiatives. And the second one is Mission Million Smiles. So through these activities, we aim to positively impact and inspire at least 1 million people in India and in our local communities. So Mission 5,000 Ignited Minds and Mission Million Smiles. And we have 3 pillars of focus. Community spirit, essentially kindling a spirit of camaraderie among the alumni, students, faculty of IIT Madras, and also help them in their professional lives with mentoring or career services. And entrepreneurship fits here. And thought leadership in the aspects of science, technology, and innovation. And 3, societal impact in the form of building research capability in the country, promoting women in STEM, and water, energy, and sustainability, and so on. Now, over the years, we have run a number of entrepreneurship programs for our alumni. Entrepreneurs Adda, Startup Fish Market, and so on. And I'm delighted that IITMA is partnering with Inflection Point Ventures to promote a spirit of entrepreneurship among our alumni and society at large. Now, I spoke to the IPV team of Ruchi, Pallavi, Gautam, and Suraj. And I really liked the enthusiasm they brought to the table. I like the company's vision to democratize entrepreneurship, of discovering more first-time investors and so on. I already noticed that IPV has 155 IIT Madras alumni on their platforms, of which 24 are already actively investing there. And IPV has funded 6 of our alumni-started startups. Fabheads, Wish Up, Siuk, Gully Network, Rapper Walk, and PyBeam. And I'm happy to learn that IITMA and IPV are planning to not only augment the number of alumni investors and startups that can benefit on their platform, they will also be conducting a number of startup master classes for our alumni and the society at large to learn details about starting up, running a startup, raising capital, etc. I wish them good luck for this partnership.
Thanks, Sandhya. Over to you, Latha, for the session. We can start. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumati. I'm sure Krishnan would have loved to be here today, but this was kind of a last minute engagement, so he had to leave, leaving us a video recording. So to start with, maybe in the IIT Madras style, I'll go with Dhinesh and Manu to put intro, which is your, what was your hostel, your batch, and your department. Dhinesh? You're on mute. Yeah.
Hi, Latha.
Yeah.
It's absolute pleasure being here, part of a large IIT crowd once again, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm from 2011 passing out batch from aerospace department, and I am proud Alak. Go Alak. So yeah.
So that's nice. So what was your nickname, if that can be said? Because that's the
mine is sayable. So,
okay.
So yeah, I was used to be called the Yogi Yogi Bear because people always said that I used to smile a lot. So, yeah, Yogi Bear is how many of my professors used to address me as well. Yeah.
Glad. I think that name still sticks to you and you, Samson. Yes, Manu, we'd like to hear from you.
Hey, hi Latha. It's awesome to be here. So I graduated 2005, ELEC, and was in Saras. And unfortunately, my nickname cannot be.
That's not surprising for all the ones that I've heard in private. So
right.
Yeah. So how was your journey to IIT Madras, and how was it, at IIT Madras? Manu.
Me or to?
Manu, you go on.
IIT Madras was very, it was an interesting journey to get there. I think it was in the context of the recent rains, no? I think there's one anecdote that kind of stands out. So what happened was that when we, our opening date, the date that college was supposed to start was actually pushed by about a month plus because no water, right? I think admin had taken the decision that there's no point in bringing the students in and not being able to supply water to the hostels, and so they pushed it. I think we opened like first week of September sometime. In the context of actually my office downstairs is now full of water, rains, and so we've kind of gone the whole spectrum. But it was a really interesting experience. I think the time we got in, there are 2-3 things that kind of stand out. There was a time when, I think a few days after we got in, one morning we woke up and then we were like talking about September 11th. We were talking about the, standing outside the workshop in HSB, and like all of us were like with our mouth agape and, talking about what happened in New York, and it was a very eventful period. I think there was a time when there was absolutely no water. I think there were like truckloads of water kind of being shipped into the campus, and lake was like bone dry, and it was a completely different experience to seeing the campus today, and even seeing Chennai today.
Yeah, it's a different scene today. We have come a long way. So the campus is so self-sufficient that we'll never have water shortage anymore.
Right, but a lot of new buildings, though. I think you're constructing. There's no tomorrow. Right?
It's only the older ones coming down and the new ones on it. They've not expanded the limited amount of land into it.
Got it.
So what were your favorite hangouts on campus? What were your favorite places?
Other than my room, you mean? Or?
Yeah.
So I think a common room was a big thing. I think we spent time in the common room watching like football and a bunch of other things. I'd like to place it on record that it's a lie, but ESB was a favorite
wow.
place.
Come on.
So that but yeah, there were a lot of places. I think the campus has changed quite a bit, in the last 15 plus years. But I think there is almost every nook and cranny of that campus that I think the fact that we did not even have a vehicle, right? We had to cycle everywhere. We had to make use of available transportation. I remember sneaking in my basically being from Chennai, right? I had access to a two-wheeler, so I had to like sneak in my two-wheeler, used to park it at ESB and then cycle back. So all the hijinks that we have pulled. But yeah, it was, it's a absolute blessing when you think about it, to have stayed on campus and to have had all those interactions and just playing in Sangam, and it's just absolute spectacular time. Just have beautiful memories about that.
Yeah, over to you, Dhinesh. What are your memories? Good ones, please.
Yeah, I'm actually from a very small town. So when I came to IIT itself, it was pretty much a very big culture shock for me. It's a kind of a pretty global arena, sort of. Like when I just walked into the hostel for the first time, walked into hostel office to find where my room is. I see this guy who's 7'3", like I'm not exaggerating. So he's 7'3", and I'm used to being the tallest guy from my KG classes. So I knew I'd come to a whole new world when that happened. And I had really good time. Like hostel life as it is like one of the best. And my favorite hangout spots tend to be around volleyball. So I was a volleyball player for both my hostel and institute. And we won continuously. Our hostel was the best volleyball, winning gold after year. And at the time, it so happened that the whole volleyball institute team was from my hostel. So it was a pretty epic volleyball institute team that was there in our hostel. So we had good times around volleyball. And in general, we used to ride cycles to Besant Nagar and here and there. It's overall a very good time hanging out with wingmates and batch. So, yeah, we had a really good time there.
Latha, if I can ask, I just have a quick question for Dhinesh. So when I was there, Dhinesh, we had, quote unquote, ragging, but what was called very gentle riffing only. Did you experience anything like that at all? What happened when you were?
It was the word ragging has become personality development.
Right.
So, but I think we all went through the same things over year after year. So
one specific thing that I recall, the first night, I don't know if when you were there, but we had these loudspeakers, to call out to the rooms. We didn't have cell phones at that time. We were just getting cell phones. And so we had these loudspeakers to announce that, your father is calling or your mother is calling, room number 246. Manu, please come to, main gate or something.
I can see where this is.
First night, they got us to go and sing a song there, right? All of us had to go. And then one like sing like Hindi songs or something. And I remember being like super embarrassed. But then after after 2 months of being there, that became like daily, screaming onto that loudspeaker. So.
Yeah.
I think that culture is gone, and we would love something like the common rooms are gone, the loudspeaker is gone, the hostel mess is gone, so things have changed. And I think the kids now enjoy it. So it's always, like I'm sure 10 years later when we are talking to the 2021 batches, they will say, oh, it was good old times. So I think it's always good old times. Anyway. So Dhinesh, just after college, we understand you moved into ISRO, involved in some real prestigious, projects. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience, and when did this entrepreneurship bug bite you?
So I was involved in various projects. Actually, one of the biggest projects that I was involved is around GSLV Mark III launch vehicle, which was still under development at that time. So that was actually a little tough time for ISRO because the GSLV rockets were all crashing back and forth, and we had gone ahead with the development of the next biggest rocket, which is the GSLV Mark III. And so it was kind of a technology jump for us, essentially. And I was involved in various technology development, key critical technologies, which have actually failed in the earlier version. So, so it was very interesting projects that I was part of. And it was absolutely nothing related to what I studied in aerospace engineering. So it was purely mechanical. And my first thing when I had a CAD drawing on my hand, fabrication drawing, I was asking my technical assistant, what is this M8 into 3? And he was like, oh, that is just a fastener. I'm like, oh, is it so? And then this guy was looking at, is this guy really an engineer? So I mean, like the kind of things that you study in aerospace engineering is not kind of what I was put into, but it was a very good learning experience, and I was able to pick it up very quickly and contribute something good there. And so the kind of experience that I really got out of ISRO was actually around project management. So I was lucky enough to be put in a project which involved bringing together about 10 different agencies of ISRO's, and we had to be the lead and take this kind of projects go through. So I was very honored to be part of that kind of projects there, which actually kept me going. But towards the end of the completion of this project, like it was getting dragged on and on. So, you know, how government institutions can be. So I was getting a little impatient, and you can say, so kind of gave my 6 months notice saying that I would like to do something even more than what I'm doing right now. And I finished that project, saw it through, and then left the ISRO after that. And that project went on to get the best ISRO project of the year. So,
yeah, that's nice. So
but,
did you think
essentially
yeah, go on.
Yeah, the entrepreneurship bug essentially came in because I was looking at various other opportunities beyond ISRO. And I got a couple of good offers, but nothing really excited me because the kind of projects that we were doing at ISRO was kind of what I wanted to be still part of. And that is kind of where I decided, okay, if you're not finding opportunities, why not create your own? And that's where started something on our own.
Yeah. So starting something on your own. This is something kind of the ecosystem today in IIT is very good. You know, the E-Cell, Nirman, C5, the incubation cell, and I mean, you know everything right now. So how was it those days? How much did that ecosystem really help you to do what you want?
Yeah. So back in the days, right, you know, during the placement times, like we would really hesitate a lot to even apply for startups. So I think back in the days is when Flipkart was transitioning from book selling to getting into other e-commerce sort of. So that was the time when our placements were happening, and Flipkart was hiring like crazy from IIT Madras. So even Amazon hadn't entered India at the time, and we were all like, should we even consider applying to these companies? And that is kind of the thought process among students about even becoming employee in startups. And like fast forward like about 4 years later, and when I was actually considering setting up my own startup, and I was discussing I used to visit IIT and then visit many profs and discuss my ideas, and then kind of doing all these things and trying to get incubated. I used to just drop into Gurunath and just have tea and chai and whatnot. So I was noticing like at least 2 out of whatever, like 10 to 12 tables are there, people would be talking about starting up or like about startups. So this is like a very big change in about 5 years. The kind of students discussions like around even inside IIT, right? The thought process began, how people started seeing the startup ecosystem itself has changed. And by and large, a good amount of that also goes to the IIT Research Park and the way things are set up there, because students are able to see so many startups very homegrown out of IIT itself, and coming and setting shop there, taking interns and giving them opportunities and giving them an idea of what startup is like and start off. And I think all of that has had a very good impact essentially. And even various alumni groups also started supporting startups. So when I was in my very early stages of pre-incorporation time, if I may say, I was discussing with the various entrepreneurs, and they were very supportive. Like one of the push, like essentially I was kind of dragging, like, is it time to incorporate yet? Is it time to incorporate yet? Sort of, I was just working on it, like kind of very telling, am I ready? Am I ready yet? And there was this one guy that I met, kind of like 20 years senior to me out of IIT. He said, "You will not know anything until you take a giant leap. Just to go for it, and then you will learn the rest of it on the go." So yeah, kind of these advices are very hard to come by. The ecosystem really helps us, and the kind of mutual camaraderie amongst the IIT ecosystem really helps you take places. Yeah.
Awesome. So we really can see that some cool fab heads came together to do something. So what is that something? Explain in detail what you do for the benefit of others listening here.
So we at Fabheads right now work around carbon fiber part automation. So that is essentially what we do at Fabheads. And so carbon fiber is a very advanced raw material that came into the industry only since 1960s, sort of. And this material is used for very lightweight, high performance. So it is used in rocketry, aircrafts, and defense. Even shipping industry, wind turbine blades these days are made out of carbon fiber. Even the 1 kg cycle frame, the very lightweight cycle frames that you might have come across. So many of these components are lately becoming done with carbon fiber. But the sad part is even today, almost nearly 70% of these are handcrafted today. So that is the manufacturing process that we want to automate, because we personally, I have seen the same things like for rocket components during my time in ISRO, where it's completely done by hand, and about 3 to 5 components out of every 10 components we used to reject. And that is a huge rejections in ISRO, that because of which time loss and cost that will be lost, which is essentially because of inefficiencies in the manual manufacturing that is still happening today. And we wanted to automate this industry, and that is how Fabheads was born. That is the vision that Fabheads was born. Yeah.
Awesome. So Manu, you have, you've studied in this ecosystem. Now you're going to invest in this ecosystem. So how does it feel?
No, so Latha, I'm not going to invest. I've been investing in this ecosystem for a very long time. I'm actually, invested in, I think, 6 startups, fairly large investor in a bunch of these startups. I think it's a really amazing perspective. It gives you this perspective that other investors would probably not have, right? You've kind of been there. I mean, you're seeing projects come across, and you're kind of able to sit across the table and have a technical conversation with them that is not just about investing, but about the product itself or about the technology itself. And it's not only about the students. I think the interesting part is that I've had conversations with many of the professors that I've studied under. Now you are kind of wearing a different hat and sitting across the table, and this whole ecosystem is changing. Right now there is this camaraderie, there's this competition also amongst the professors, wanting to start up today and kind of commercialize their ideas and commercialize that patent that was sitting in the freezer for all these years. And many of them are kind of coming out, and their ideas, they're tying up with the student today, they're tying up with PhD scholars, and just even young BTech students are getting to tying up with these professors and starting off. So I think it's a really amazing perspective to have. I'd like to think that some of the entrepreneurs are a little bit more comfortable sitting across the table with somebody who's already been through what they have been through over those 4 years, and kind of sit across the table and have these conversations much more comfortably. But to Dinesh's point earlier, I think a lot has changed, right? I mean, see, Dhinesh says when I was there, back, and I have to kind of go even further back when IIT Research Park was barely existed. There was one building, and things were we did an internship because it was mandated, in my 4th year, right? It was mandated and we had to go and find an internship. Today, I see these kids kind of doing internships every year, or some of these kids are like working along with the startup. They're more, part of the startups rather than doing the program seems to be the side hustle, right? The college itself or the course seems to be the side hustle. And, many people are actually sitting in startups, and I think that you have to give kudos to that vision and the ecosystem that has been built around Research Park, incubation cell, all the other supporting parts of that ecosystem. But being around it, personally for me, I think being around this ecosystem, the excitement is very palpable. You want to be a part of it. You want to have these conversations. You want to be that person, who's sitting across and saying, okay, I understand what you're getting, and maybe help you, from a business angle, or help you from a strategy angle. And so I think that's been the journey for me, and, kind of investing in this ecosystem.
Awesome. So Ankur, we've been talking about these innovations and how things have evolved. Now, I mean, many things that you're talking now is how IIT has evolved and so much of innovations that have come. You also would have seen so much across, with IPV and even before that. So can you tell us a little about what have you seen, maybe in corporate startups? What's the kind of involvement of the innovations that you have seen?
I think it's a great time to be looking at startups at this stage. I think a few years back, we were fixated on trying to create the Uber of India and, the Amazon of India. I think what Dhinesh is doing, for example, it's a technology that is pioneered by maybe 7 other companies all over the world. Indian founders have started doing things which, they don't mind competing with the best in the world. Right. And we are, at IPV supportive of such innovations. We are willing, we understand that the risks here will be higher because, for example, we have just invested in a technology which, as we speak, is being developed by people all over the world, including companies like Amazon, but nobody has developed it yet. There is no proof that it has been done yet, at least. And we have backed it. It's a pre-product company, and we are backing it, again, because, we want to support, founders who are willing to take such entrepreneurial plunge, who are willing to, take technology and innovation to the next level. Manu is a very interesting person I've, been in touch with for a while earlier as an investor. And when one of the startups we were recently looking at, in which Manu was already an investor, we identified that that startup will need a very strong co-founder. And to our great surprise, Manu decided to wear the dual hat of investor as well as a co-founder. So I don't know how many hats he can wear, but he has added one more hat to his. And again, there what we are trying to do is looking at a very large problem. It has got a lot of challenges, but we are willing to, in the EV space, using our knowledge of EV and trying to solve again a very large problem. So we at IPV are very supportive of such innovations, such strategies. What we bring differently is, we try to bring in our own business knowledge, our own commercial sense to the ideas. I have a team actively working with Dhinesh, for example, where we are helping him to convert his big strategy, big ideas into a viable business, right? And making sure that guidance, mentorship is not the reason why a startup does not succeed. And that is what we promise to do for all our startups.
Mm-hmm. So you were initially working with a lot of investment companies. So what was the idea? What was that first thought on to create something like IP Ventures? And what did you think should be the differentiator? And is that differentiator still there?
So thanks for that question, Latha. So, I was doing investment banking in London and New York. So it was not that I was unaware of startup investing. When I moved back to India, it was a space which I wanted to actively get involved in. But unlike Manu and Dhinesh, I was not from IIT. I'm a chartered accountant. I was not from IIMs. So I did not have that same network which these guys had. So my problem was, how do I source good quality startups? So I became part of few investor platforms, startup platforms. Now there, in most of them, I found that it was a very person-driven platform. So it was like, I, XYZ, am bringing this startup to the platform who wants to invest. and a lot of people will say me, and the round used to get closed. So when people say, oh, the startup boom, I'm talking about 2013-14, and this was happening in 2013-14 also, right? Now the challenge there was the deals that where I used to get accepted. My concern there was, why am I accepted? Is it because nobody else is investing, and that's why this deal has come to me? So there was a little bit of uncertainty, lack of transparency on how that whole process is being done. It was, Vinay, who's my co-founder at IPV, we were both investing together. And we both were like, this is not, in our opinion, at least a good approach. Startup investing requires two very key important things. One is upfront due diligence, and the second is post-investment support. Upfront due diligence means that now we may not be subject matter expert in everything. I do not have any knowledge of what Dhinesh, technical knowledge of what Dhinesh is building. But Dhinesh can vouch that we got him to speak to people who have a deep expertise on the areas where he was building his tech with, right? And that is the kind of network we have been able to build at IPV, where we have subject matter experts of every area imaginable that we can be looking to invest, and we proactively take the advantage of these investors. We put them in front of our founders. We let them understand the problems that the founders are trying to solve and whether these are the best founders who can solve this problem. And what it gives is, it helps us chip away the reasons of failure. While nobody can guarantee success, it helps us chip away the reasons of failure and thereby improving our chances of success, which is reflective in our numbers. Where out of 50 startups we invested prior to the beginning of this year, we have 1 unicorn exit, we have another 8 exits, another 3 exits waiting to get announced, and another 20 plus follow-ons that have already happened, and 1 failure. Right. So we have been able to skew that success rate because of not just actually the first pillar, which is due diligence, but it is also the post-investment support. And instead of me saying anything, I think Manu has seen both sides and Dhinesh has seen both sides now. I would rather let them comment on how painful that due diligence process is. When you have to explain everything and we ask a lot of questions, and then eventually how the post-investment support of a large CXO platform works, where your next customer, somebody who can understand the space, your next connect, is not only willing to help, but they are investing in you.
Great, awesome. So Manu, now you've been with IPV for 2 years now. Yeah. So can you tell me a little about your experience as an investor, and what do you think is the primary role of an investor? And over the years, has it changed?
Sure. So I think that's a couple of questions. So let me tell you about IPV first. I think, and this is probably first time feedback for Ankur as well. Face to face. But I think one of the pretty interesting things about IPV is the structure they've put around everything, right? They've formalized the process. I think their team itself is like 30-40 people now, Ankur.
80 plus.
Okay, sorry, my bad on that. So that's absolutely crazy, right? I mean, for the type of output. I mean, it's just amazing that they have people on so many different fronts. They've thought through all the different aspects of startup investing. Kind of compartmentalized it, built around it. Put processes around it such that it can kind of run by itself. So I mean. Or on a lighter note, I wouldn't be surprised if IPV, later kind of comes to IPV for funding at some point. And says, "Ki, chalo, we'll raise." But no, I think it's really interesting. See, it comes back to structure, right? Every there's a pitch. There's pitch always scheduled. Time is maintained. Process is maintained. Once they start working on it, a lot of due diligence happens, and the due diligence process is pretty immaculate. There are tons of people working behind the scenes to get all the different pieces of the puzzle, put it together for themselves first, see if it makes sense, see what if anything needs to be tweaked. See, I think the interesting piece there is also that if they feel that there's like 90% of it works, but hey, these things need to be tweaked. I think they're not afraid to come back and say, hey, I think these pieces need to be worked on again, and this is where we can help you with it, right? And this is all pre-investment. I think post-investment as well, the network size, I think when I got involved with IPV, I think there were barely 200 people. I think we met in Bangalore. I forget the meeting where Dr. Malpani and all spoke. Yeah, so it was a fairly small get together. And today, I think there are 3,000 people now.
5,500 plus.
So yeah, so I think these numbers, I have to get like daily updates before IPV. But yeah, so they've built a very, very solid platform, and I think it's visible in the results at the end of the day, right? So it's the takeaway for me is, I think, just goes back to the structure they've put around everything, right? So that's the best thing that I could say.
Dinesh, how much did this, or how do you feel the angel investing added value to what you were doing, and where did you see them really coming in?
Yeah. So again, I'm like touching on the same point as Manu said. I mean, the structure around IPV is really, really something that I was surprised to come across. In fact, even during the due diligence, things were happening so fast. I didn't expect they could move that fast. Actually, I was very pleased from an investment perspective that things could happen much faster. And so there were like about 10 people that were talking to me, asking different questions. Oh my God, you guys are bigger than us. So I didn't expect a VC team to be this big, but then they were quite big. And then the number of people that we were talking with, and kind of how fast the things were moving, how the deal flow itself happened was actually quite pleasing for us. So even after that, like Ankur really inspires me in a way. Like, I don't know how he manages his time, because I know how much time he spent with me during the due diligence time, and then I know how much time he spends with me after due diligence also. So I just compute and see, like, if he does the same thing with so many companies, like how does he manage his time? Seriously. So even actually after post investment also, they're very hands-on, very, very helpful. Like not just like typical investors, like just asking questions like what's the revenue this quarter, or what are the new clients that you onboarded and stuff, but a little much hands-on. Like when we say like there's a company that I had to reach out, and he gets me the contact of the top guy in less than 10 minutes. So, and then it is up to us afterwards, of course. But then he still continues to follow us with up and ensure that gets somewhere, not just to give the contact and then just forget it, but also get somewhere. And so he's able to do that again because of the network that he has access to. So even like any company that we need to reach out to, our point of contact is a close group of about 5 to 6 people from IPV sort of, and then they will reach out to their network and see where we can get those connects, and then come back to us and reach out. So it's a huge resource, I should say, like having access to this kind of multiple people platform that we have access to. Somewhere you will have the right resources you need, and people are always there to help you out. Like, you just have to reach out. And I always say I don't reach out enough, but yeah, the help is always there if we reach out enough. Yeah.
Awesome. Ankur, this initiative of community, having a community from a particular education institution, this is something really wonderful. So what was the thought process behind it, and how does it work?
So the thought process was, we wanted to become India's largest CXO platform. While we have the family offices, the micro VCs all investing through us, with us, post us. But the idea was to build India's largest CXO platform on one side. And the other side was, how do we ensure that the next big startup coming out of top educational institutions, and IPV has a first look at it. So, in the, where everything, where liquidity kind of becomes a commodity, fortunately or unfortunately, right? What you have to ensure is that you get access to good ideas first. And so the idea was that, okay, where are these good ideas coming from? Well, they are coming from top educational institutions. So how do we build deeper relationships with top educational institutions? So then it was to bring more investors, alums, from that educational institution onto your platform as investors, and then encourage them to work with the alumni associations, with the entrepreneurship cells, and tell them that, okay, if there is a good idea, IPV is a very democratic, not just for the investment, but also for startups looking for funding. Submit on our website and let us evaluate. So that is where we thought of communities as an idea, which will help us attract both the investors as well as the startups. And it is, I will say that they both are equally important for us, because the good investors will only stick around with us if we bring in good startups, and vice versa. The startups will also only respect us if we are giving them funding. So the idea is to build that, and education institutions like IIT Madras. So when we started thinking, IIT Madras was on top, because I am a big fan of deep tech. I may not understand deep tech, but I'm a big fan of deep tech. I'm a big fan of, like you asked me the first question on innovation, and some of the best innovations has come out of IIT Madras. And so the idea was that I don't want to invest in them when they become, a 300, 400, 500 crore company. I want to invest in them when they are, a relatively earlier stage, but because I also know that IPV can provide them the network to scale faster. So that was the whole idea behind communities.
Okay, that's lovely. So can you, for aspiring entrepreneurs, is there something that the three of you could, one line, and how is the ecosystem looking right now? And there are a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. So what would your one line be to them? Ankur, Manu, and Dhinesh.
Let's start with Manu, because he wears two hats.
Yeah.
I would say persevere, right? Not even one line, it's one word. It's just persevere. See, one of the things I think we look at, when I'm looking to invest, at least at the stage that we look to invest, right? Which is a very, very early, pre-company having a lot of structure, companies like Fabheads, for example. The thing you look for, I think, if I had to list the top three things that you look for, it is founder, right? There is, I think, almost nothing that goes beyond that, right? What is, how is the founder, how has he experienced the problem, right? How is...
Manu, we can't hear you, or is it just me?
Can you hear me? Or Latha, could you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, go on, Manu.
Okay. I think that was just you, Ankur.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You okay?
I just changed my internet. Go on.
Got it. Yeah. So I think the thing that at least we look for is, at least I look for when we're investing, is what is kind of driving the founder? What is the unique perspective that the founder has? How has he experienced the problem that, he is solving, and what is driving him to solve that problem? And all of that, kind of, comes back, and, you can put that like umbrella around it, that is, persistence and resilience around it. Because one of the things I've noticed, you see a pitch from a startup today, right? And then you go 2 years down the line and you say, okay, the projections and the business, none of it looks like what you had pitched to us 2 years ago, right? There's absolutely no correlation to that, right? And every startup has pitched, if not has pivoted significantly, if not significantly, at least a little bit in that period. And it is the capability and the perseverance of that founder to adjust to that, the headwinds that are upcoming, adjust themselves, repivot the company and move forward, right? And I think that at the stage that we are looking at, I think it's fully a founder decision for an investor.
Okay, so Dhinesh.
Yeah. So for any budding entrepreneur, I think it is also critical to find a very good mentor, like along with somebody with a good amount of experience and also a good fit for you. So not every guy's style might suit you. At the same time, it is quite very much necessary to walk you through the initial days, and kind of like IIT Madras Incubation Cells Mentorship Program is one of the best ways in which they suit you with various other mentors and then see who fits you sort of. And it's very critical because there are various things that you can go wrong with, and having the kind of experience to just tell you, give some feedback. At the end of the day, what you're building, the product, the tech, the decision should be still yours, but absolutely nothing goes wrong with listening to some advice here and there and then make a decision on your own. So don't be afraid to hear some third parties' wise words now and then. Yeah.
Awesome. Ankur.
Yeah, so my advice would be to all the entrepreneurs, you should have the right reasons to become an entrepreneur. It is not an easy journey. There will be a lot of challenges, some foreseen, some unforeseen, some you're prepared for, some you're not prepared for. And therefore, it is very important that you're becoming an entrepreneur for the right reasons. And you are very clear of how you are going to achieve those goals, and you should be willing to give it all. One of the things which we test in our founders is that how committed they are, how passionate they are to the idea. Is it just because everybody is becoming an entrepreneur today and it's a cool thing to say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a startup founder, or is there really a reason why you want to do what you want to? So for me, that is the most important thing. Everything else can be worked upon, right? But the passion, the right reasons have to be there.
So another question to you, Ankur, which has come on our chat box, does IPV focus on women entrepreneurship, or is it just irrelevant? It's just the idea. It should not matter whether it's a man or woman.
It is. It doesn't matter whether it's man or woman. We don't have any women-focused funds. We don't have any men-focused funds. We don't have any. So the way it works at IPV is anybody, even if my wife wants to tomorrow submit start a startup and raise funding, they have to submit on our website. The link has been shared in the chat for everybody. And then it gets evaluated by our selection panel. When we are evaluating, we are not looking whether the founder is from IIT or IIM. We are not looking whether the founder is a man or a woman. What we are looking for is that founder the best person to solve the problem that they are out to solve? And is that problem large enough, big enough? That how is it being solved otherwise? So those are our things that we are looking at.
Okay, so we have a question from Murali Narasimhan. He is asking you, can you list the top 5 reasons why a startup fails? And also, is it necessary to remain bootstrapped? And a strong word here, is it a sin to go for funding?
I'll take the, you should go and raise funding when you're ready for it. Funding comes with certain amount of abdication of control. Okay. There is another seat on the table. You are now answerable to someone. And therefore, if you can avoid raising funding, go ahead, right? So just don't raise funds because it's available. With funds comes responsibility. Somebody is parking their hard-earned money with you, and they will ask you questions, and you are now answerable. So it is not a sin to raise money, absolutely not. Money should help you in your journey. In the earlier stages, look for what kind of capital you want. Do you just want capital, or do you want a capital which comes with experience, network, support, guidance, mentorship? Which can offer, and most of the startups will need that. So raise money when you are ready for it, raise money when you need it, not a day early and not a day late. Sometimes founders get so attached to their own dilution. Sometimes they get so attached, oh, I don't want to dilute beyond a certain percentage. Whenever the founder tells me that I don't want to dilute, I will rather raise less. Now, I am really questioning, why are you raising? Because if dilution is so important, then don't raise. And if you can survive with less money, why raise more? So, I'm never able to understand when founders give me these kind of answers that, I'll rather dilute less. So for me, what is more important is, it was one of the questions which I asked Manu and his startup, because the founder there had diluted. But if you look at the passion of his co-founder, right, it is so much that equity percentage doesn't matter to him. He is committed to the cause. He's committed to the idea that he wants to succeed in. So for me, funding is, I think every startup at some stage will need funding, but Zerodha did not need funding. Zerodha has not raised a single money. And it's great if you can run your business like Zerodha, but remember, even if you're like Zerodha and you want to give yourself 100 crore salary, people are still questioning, why are you giving yourself 100 crore salary? So there will always be questions. What was the first part of the question, Latha?
The 5, why do they fail?
Yeah,
startups, top 5 reasons.
So we've identified almost a checklist of why startups fail. For us, it all boils down to the founders. the founders are the biggest reason for success and the founders are the biggest reason for failure. Everything else is out of your control. And so therefore, especially at the early stages, for example, some of our startups failed during the corona when all of a sudden things just came to a standstill, right? Certain businesses, for example, they were in outdoor sports. There is not much you can do if there is a lockdown and no outdoor sports are happening. But there also the founders showed the word that Manu used, perseverance. They still found a way to survive, succeed, grow, like at least stay relevant till the time, slowly and steadily. And it took almost 1 year for some of those lockdowns to get lifted. So, I personally think that you don't need 5 reasons. You just need one. Focus your attention, time, energy on the founders.
Awesome. So here is Dr. Shyam Reddy. Any investors for biotech-based startups from IPV? I'm founder of a startup company, Crispy Labs Private Limited, for producing prebiotic oligo nutraceutical pilot scale technology ready process seeking. So I'm sure we're going to connect you with IPV and
Latha, Sumati has already shared the link, the
yes.
website link where she can, where the gentleman can go and submit their startup.
Yeah. So maybe let me just check. Yeah. So I think that's the questions for today. And thank you all so much for your time. And I'm sure we'll all come back to Ankur for more help with our community. Thank you, Manu. Thank you, Dhinesh, for all your lovely ideas and being part of this great community and trying to be there at all times.
Look forward to building a very strong relationship with IIT Madras, Latha.
Absolutely.
More startups, more investors, and hopefully, we will be there to celebrate more success that we all achieve together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks,
Very well. Have a good day.
Bye.